scenes mark Council of State elections here in Accra and the Ashanti region. We have the very latest if you stay with us. Also, Ghana's anti-corruption efforts suffer yet another setback as the latest report by Transparency International ranks the country 80th out of 180 other countries assessed worldwide. A lot later, the government says it has put in place alternative arrangements to ensure the health system does not grind to a halt as US aid shut down operations across the world. Hello there, welcome to yet another edition of News Central. I am Mawina Igbeta. The bulletin starts right now. This afternoon, confusion has hit the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council as heavily built men disrupt the counting process of the Council of State elections. They've destroyed all the ballots just when the EC officials were about to begin counting. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar is there for us. We'll go to him shortly, but let's preview really or bring to you a sense of what the situation is like in the Ashanti region right now. Here's what's been happening. And then the military almost as well. We've seen the former education minister and member of parliament for the Bosumtwi constituency all present during this election. Not really clear what's happening, but there's been a complete disruption with regards exactly what's expected to happen at this particular place, a regional coordinating council where macho men have come through and have disrupted completely the counting process for the Council of State elections. And we'll connect right now or shortly with my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar to get a sense of really what's been transpiring, what's the way forward with regards to the disruption in the election process. And you are hearing openly these heavily built men issuing threats to persons who were recording that they were going to either destroy their phones or throw their phones away because they were attempting to record proceedings and issues or matters as they happen. But that's the latest with regards to exactly what's happening in the Ashanti region for you at this particular time, where the Council of State election is currently happening in the Ashanti region at this particular point in time. And I mentioned Ibrahim Abubakar will join us right now with a bit more details. Ibrahim, talk to us. Has calm been restored to the area? Do we know what's the situation now?
Well, Mauna, as I speak to you, indeed calm has restored, but unfortunately all the 12 candidates have left together with some of their supporters. The macho men who also came to disrupt the process have also left. We've seen the police also leaving. So currently, some of them are still stationed within the premises of the Regional Coordinating Council. I had to come out for the sake of safety because you wouldn't know who is watching you. So for now, the exercise has come to a halt, and they will have to go back, find a new date, and even possibly find a new place to conduct this election. Because as I speak, all the ballots have been destroyed, and it means that the EC wouldn't have any papers to be able to count. Now, it started very smoothly. Everything was going on in Ashanti region. They were expecting 86 persons to come and vote because we have 43 districts, and each district is supposed to present 2 assembly members. 12 people were contesting. But then it turned political. You could see clearly in the video you saw, like we said, the former Deputy Minister of Education. You could also see the NDC regional chairman and also some members of both the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party. So even though it's a Council of State member election, it was also political because all members of the 2 political parties were there to offer support to their preferred candidate. Like I said, 12 people contested, but the contest was between the chief of Agric Nzima, who is a staunch member of the New Patriotic Party. He's one of their Council of Elders, Nana Nkansa Boadu, and also the former Ashanti Regional Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Yao Obimpe. So it started, like I said, very peacefully. Police were there in their numbers. So just when they were done, all the 86 had voted and they started the sorting and were about to begin the counting. So the sorting was done. So clearly you could see who is winning. That was when the confusion started. They came also in their numbers, disrupted everything. Eventually the EC official had to quickly even pick the ballot, put it in the ballot box, and rush to the conference center of the Regional Coordinating Council where they wanted to go there and count it. Just at the entrance, the macho men also came there, took the ballot paper away, destroyed it, and teared all the ballot papers into pieces. So as I speak, there is no way they can go on with counting. The EC officials have also left, as you can see at the background. The police van is also in, so the police personnel are entering one by one. So they are all leaving the premises of the Regional Coordinating Council. So for now, we do not know when the next election for the Ashanti Regional Security Council member will be conducted, whether it will even be open for all to come just as was done today or will be done at a closed door. So clearly chaotic scene. Journalists were beaten up and there, provided they see you recording the incident, they will come at you and beat you to fall. So these are some of the things that we've witnessed. And like I said, other regions have successfully elected their Council of State members. But Ashanti region, we have to wait another day for that election.
And Ibrahim, it's interesting you mentioned that after sorting, there looked like a clear understanding of where this was going, which resulted in the calling of the macho men. Do we have a sense of which camp these men were from based off on what we've seen transpire? And there's a lot of question as to complicity on the part of the police because they were present while all of this distraction was happening, and yet no arrests have been effected at all.
Yes, Mauna. So I was there. Well, per what I saw, even though counting had not been done, but it was tilting towards the favor of the chief of Agric Nzima, Nana Nkansa Boadu, and that was the clear signs because obviously supporters even started jubilating. Then this incident came. Like you said, a number of police personnel were there, but quite unfortunate, most of the official police personnel who were there too were not armed. So when this issue started, and in fact, there were times I saw it with my own eyes, some of the macho men even attacking some of the police officers. So they couldn't do anything. I don't know whether they didn't want to engage them to escalate things but they were there in their numbers, and like we said, no arrest has been effected, and we are waiting to see what will happen next in the coming hours or in the coming days.
Right, Ibrahim. Thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague, Ibrahim Abubakar, providing details there for us. And interestingly, with chaos in the Ashanti region, because from what Ibrahim tells us, the NPP-favored candidate was looking like he was in the lead, and his supporters were beginning to jubilate, is when we saw these heavily built men begin to disrupt the election process. That's the details we're getting from my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar. Interestingly, there's a similar development in the capital Accra as well, because there's been a disruption of the process there as well. Let's bring to you really what's been happening in the capital as well, while we try to connect with my colleague Stanley Niblewu, who's monitoring proceedings for us here at the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council. And so that's what's been happening in the Greater Accra region, the capital where we are right now. Stanley has joined us via phone as well. Stanley, talk to us what really is happening at the AMA building complex. I understand where this is happening at.
Well, I must say that about 20 minutes ago, two separate incidents of chaos ensued within the premises where the Greater Accra regional election for the Council of State is taking place. As at 7 a.m., the Electoral Commission officials, led by the Greater Accra Regional Director, Madam Gladys Pinkra, had set up the place for the election to take place. But they waited for about 4 hours without the delegates who are supposed to partake in who are the key stakeholders in the process to vote. They were not present, so they had to wait for them for about 4 hours before they arrived. This created room for some of the aspirants to blame their colleagues for actually camping these delegates and then trying to induce them. So after 4 hours, when these delegates, numbering about 58, because
Stanley, it does appear we may have lost Stanley on the telephone lines there. We'll try and establish a connection to him again. But he tells us that as early as when the election was expected to start, the Greater Accra EC director had set up the place. Everything was in order, expecting that the individuals who would come out to vote would come. They had not done so because there's an alleged claim that they were being camped, housed, and obviously some incentives or inducements being provided to them. I want to understand from Stanley if that has been the basis for which we're seeing the chaos erupt in the Greater Accra region, the AMA complex building, as we saw in the Ashanti region as well. Hopefully, Stanley has rejoined us on the telephone line. Stanley, you were explaining to us that we had seen, or we had on the ground, you had heard that these assembly persons who were expected to cast their ballot had been camped. Is that the reason why we're seeing the chaos that we're seeing in the Greater Accra region? Stanley, I'm asking if the decision to camp these persons who are expected to vote is why we're seeing the chaos we're seeing in the Greater Accra region. So,
like I indicated earlier, two separate incidents happened. The first incident had to do with the police trying to prevent a number of people who they think were not qualified to be at the auditorium. But this generated into like a misunderstanding. But the police stood on their grounds and then they insisted that these people will not come in. So the Greater Accra Regional Minister, that is Madam or Honorable Linda Akoli Oklu, who came into the auditorium with the local government minister, Ibrahim Ahmed, and then she later stepped out. She also happened to have been caught up in that scuffle, and she was eventually denied entry into the auditorium, and that resulted in the second scuffle because the people are trying to bring the minister. They think that the minister cannot be kept outside of the auditorium, and so she coming into the auditorium for the second time also generated another chaos. But as I speak, the process has kick-started. Police have been able to restore calm. The protest has started about 10 minutes ago, and the delegates, numbering 58, because two of the delegates were actually selected from each of the 29 districts. So numbering 58, they are currently going through the process to elect one out of the 13 people who have availed themselves to represent the Greater Accra region at the Council of State level. But I must also add that just before the process will commence for the delegates to start voting, two of the delegates pulled out because they feel that they have to throw their support to other aspirants who have availed themselves to be voted for, because they are one way or the other considered their bosses who they said they cannot contend with them for the same slot.
Right, Stanley, outside of the chaos, which now you're telling us has returned, we know you've been speaking to a number of the candidates as well. What have they been telling you, the expectation, and what they seem to bring to the office of the Council of State? Yes,
so Mawena, the 12 candidates, the 11 aspirants, because 2 are out of the race. So the 11 candidates who are going through the process to be voted for currently, they have been sharing their views and their vision with the people, with the delegates. And for the former Greater Accra Regional Minister, that is Honorable Nilai Afotiagbo, who is also a regent of Punkata Manso, he actually said that he has been through the process. He has occupied several positions in government. And so going to take on the position of the regional council to represent the Greater Accra at the regional council level is not something new, because the people know what he can do. But then also there are other aspirants who feel that they are also equally qualified to take on that position.
Right.
And that's one thing that has been their proposition, or the value proposition. What their campaign message has been is that they are going to champion, if the assembly members are able to give them the nod to represent the region at the Council of State level, they are going to ensure that whatever promise the President, John Dramani Mahama, has said about the assembly members, they are going to advise the President on that to ensure that the President fulfills his pledge.
Right, Stanley, I know as well that the local government minister, the Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim, was present on ground as well. What did he tell you, just briefly?
So the local government minister was actually shocked, because in his speech to the people or to the Guardians, he did mention that this exercise is supposed to bring unity among the people of Ghana. Right. And so he just told the people that they should try to go through the process carefully and elect somebody that is being fit to represent them. And he also told them that they should try to eschew any form of violence. But just as he ended his speech, then the violence ensued, and he felt so disappointed.
Right. Let's take a listen to the Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim and what he's been saying.
It is not just a mere exercise. Certain key decisions must be taken. And I know the way you are united, the unity of Greater Accra will begin from here. At the end of the day, let's elect a man who can look into the face of the President and say, Mr. President, I wish we could have taken this path, or it's better we take this path. That's their rule, advising the President. I even don't qualify to advise the President. Because to do this, we could hear Professor Kofi Awono. They were the members of the council. That's how we started it. We could hear of Honorable Cecilia Johnson after being local government minister for a long period. Then he went to the Council of State. We could hear of Honorable T.H. Ufatampo after being a majority leader for a longer years and minister of Agri for a longer years. Then he went there. So this is a house you are going to establish, and therefore let's give the rule to those who can advise the President. But you are the kingmakers. I don't qualify. My My dear sister, thank you very much for exercising your national responsibility. And I believe good job will be done here. I don't want to sound a big partisan or a big...
That's the local government minister, Ahmed Ibrahim, speaking in the capital Accra, the AMA complex building where the Council of State elections for the Greater Accra region is currently ongoing. We're taking you elsewhere, away from the violence, where a declaration has been made because a 36-year-old businessman, Gabriel Tanko Kwame Atuple, has been elected as the Volta region's representative to the Council of State. The young man polled 24 votes out of a total 35 to win the election. Faisal Abdul Idrisu, I should say, he's joined us from Ho with an update on the election. Let's connect with him right now. Faisal, run us through the election in the Volta region and how he emerged victorious. Oh, okay, it looks like the connection to Faisal just went bad just when he was about to provide a bit more details there for us. But let's hear from the 36-year-old businessman who's emerged victorious from that Council of State elections in the Volta region.
I would want to say a very big thank you to the very electoral college that got me elected. I might say that I draw my inspiration from Psalm 91 and Habakkuk 2 verse 3. I'm really humbled. It is God from the beginning and it is God now. Article 89 has been clearly stated about the Council of State, that members of the Council of State are going to provide advisory services to the President. And I'm representing the Volta region in that regard. I would want to say that yes, of course. I've always said that Volta possesses 60% of Ghana's resources. And I'm going to use that leverage to partner with donor partners across the globe and see how best we can make the region more autonomous. I have always said that it's not about being young, okay? The youth, of course, should be involved in government policies. And I would want to say that I'm going to make a difference. Of course, my voice will be added. At the end of the day, victory will be for the region.
That's Kwame Atuple, a 36-year-old businessman who's been elected Council of State member. But not everybody is happy with the fact that he's been elected. One of the losing candidates has been speaking to my colleague Faisal Abdul Idrisu, very unhappy with the turn of events.
People call themselves party executive, meeting delegates in the night. I went there behind closed door. Some boys called themselves party organizers, preventing a candidate to have access to the information you are giving to delegates. What is that? When the police command called the minister, he said a different thing. When I met him, he said a different thing. Why should we call this an election? This is not an election. They clearly told me personally, they have an interest. What interest do they have? That it's not an interest of Volta region. Volta region chiefs, Volta region interest holders, all the assemblies, I am calling on you to hold your representatives responsible for this kind of decision, to send our region back. I will work hard to...
That's the losing candidate, not happy. Let's try and just catch a sense of how it all went down with my colleague Faisal Abdul Idrisu, who's joined us right now from the Volta region. Faisal, we've heard from the victor and then the vanquished as well. Talk to us about how it all went down and this young man who's been elected Council of State rep for the Volta region.
Well, Agbata, so the election at the Ola Auditorium this morning served a very tense atmosphere from the start, with supporters of the various candidates massing up at the entrance of the auditorium. Several others got in, and it created a whole lot of pandemonium. But the police took control of the process and ensured that the election process went on peacefully and concluded successfully. 36 delegates, 13 candidates gathered there today. After the polls, 35 ballots were counted as valid, one rejected ballot. Tanko Kwame Atuple, who appears to be the darling man for the region now, polled 24 votes for that. Dr. Wako polled 4, Togbe Akamu from Angofenenyiba, polled 5. One, Mr. Lati, who is also part of the race, polled 1, making up the total 35 valid vote. And so Tanko has been declared as winner. Just as we listened to him say, he mentioned that he's going to use his position to lobby for the development of the Volta region, even though he did indicate that the position of Council of State is purely an advisory role. He still would use the position to lobby for the development of the region. He has a message for the youth. He talked about the fact that he's 36, but he's done so much to endear himself to the people of the region, the chiefs, and all the people that matter as far as this election is concerned to be elected to represent the Volta region. And so for the youth, it's a message for them to dare to enter areas that are seem to be the toughest zone for young people. And so that is for Tanko. But on the part of Dr. Waku, he is not really pleased with the result. He indicated that over the period, he realized that the NDC as a party in the region hijacked the process, come delegates, and will not allow any other candidate, particularly last night, to have access to them. This, he said, was actually led by the regional minister. He accused the regional minister of leading this and indicated that the decision made today is a decision made by the NDC. It's a choice made by the NDC, and that the development of the region, and for those who have interest in it, must question the NDC and the regional minister for this very decision that was made today. But as I speak to you, the exercise has ended. People have dispersed. The victors have gone on to begin their party. Those who have lost are going back home to count their losses.
Right then, Faisal, many thanks for those details. That's my colleague Faisal Abdul Idrisu from the Volta region, wrapping it all up for us. We're taking you next to the northern region, where a former MP for Kumbungu, Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni, has been elected as a Council of State member for the northern region. Christopher Mwako is the man who sat through it all. He's joined us right now with the details. Chris, talk to us as to how it went and the emergence of the former Interior Minister as a victor.
Yes, so Mawena, it went very peacefully because by 10 a.m., the elections in the northern region had ended and Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni had been declared winner in that election. And I must say that he polled some 26 out of 32 votes. There are 16 districts in the northern region, and so 32 delegates went to vote in this election, and Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni polled 26 out of the 32 votes. Everybody who was at the Northern Regional Coordinating Council was very happy about this election because he won overwhelmingly, Mawena.
Right, and he's been speaking. What's he been saying?
Yes, so he's been calling for support from the people of the North because he believes that having been an MP for Kumbungu, having been a running mate to the late President John Evans Atta Mills, and having also been an interior minister and serving as a minister of the country, he believes that he has the expertise to be able to advise the president accordingly.
Right then, Chris, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague, Christopher Mwako. So we've taken you to 4 regions. Let's try and run you through the numbers as to what the day looks like, because we know elsewhere in the eastern region, 3 women are facing stiff competition from some men as well. But what are the numbers in terms of the number of individuals who put themselves up into wanting to go into that constitutionally created office to advise the president on very critical matters? And so a total number of 155 individuals, candidates, put themselves up for election to the office of Council of State. And we know that 522 voters were expected to vote, 2 persons each from the 261 metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies across the country. Out of the 155 who put themselves up for elections, though, 145 are male, 10 of them females, and the number of persons to be elected. Out of that 155 number, just 16. And so that's the breakdown for you with respect to how it's looking like. If we want to break it down further into the regions, in the Greater Accra region, we're seeing all males and no females at all. In the Western region, there are more males, 7 males, 2 females. In the central region, just 1 woman put herself up for election, whilst 8 other men did same. In the Bono region, no females at all, 10 males. In the Bono East, 9 males against 2 females. In the Ahafu region, no woman at all, as 8 men put themselves up for elections. Same for Volta region, 13 males put themselves up for elections. It was same for the Upper West region as well. 11 men put themselves up for elections. We'll just round up quickly with respect to the last of the 8 regions. In the Upper East region as well, it was same, no women at all, but 9 men. Ashanti region, 2 women put themselves up for elections. But we know Ibrahim told us it was between 2 men, really, when you want to narrow it down in the Ashanti region. Western region, 3 individuals, or Western North, I should say, 3 individuals put themselves up for elections, all men. In the Savannah region as well, all men affair. Oti region, all men affair. Northeast region, all men affair as well. In the Eastern region, the highest number in terms of persons who put themselves up to be elected, 21 men, 3 women put themselves up for elections. And then the last region, the northern region, 4-0 in terms of what the gender balance looked like. And all male affair with respect to wanting to occupy the office of who will be providing counsel to the president. And so that's a breakdown for you with respect to how it's all gone down, the numbers of the individuals who putting themselves up for elections. And it will take us on to our very first break here on News Central. When we return, we have details for you on Ghana's anti-corruption fight, plus latest audits, work done by PwC on ECG and its accounts, all of that and more if you stay with us here on News Central. Please do stay. You're welcome back to News Central. Now, Minister in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwachiofusu, has challenged the minority's opposition to the appointment of Dr. Johnson Isiama as Governor of the Central Bank. In an exclusive interview on TV3 earlier, Felix Kwachiofusu insists the President does not need the express approval from the Council of State before appointing a Governor of the Central Bank.
The record of the MPP does not dictate that they believe in any proper governance. They acted arbitrarily in government.
How so?
They acted with impunity. They disregarded Ghanaian law. They treated the people of Ghana with contempt. They trampled upon public sentiment. Everybody who is minded to follow them knows that they are not making these noises because they genuinely believe there's anything wrong with Dr. Isiama. There is a party that has suffered a debilitating loss at elections. They suffered a crushing defeat at elections. Somehow they believe that engaging in this sort of activity is what will charge their base and rally them around them. I beg to differ. The point is that if you want to convince Ghanaians again of your suitability for office, you must go to the basics. You must go back to the brass tacks and ensure that you are doing the right things. Purely vilifying people out of nothing and raising issues when none exists is not going to convince the people of Ghana to give you back power, which you abused. But there is not a party that, as of now, has the credibility to convince anybody that they mean well. They are acting like an opposition that is eager to be heard. No substantive matters have been raised against Dr. Isiama. Dr. Isiama did not discharge himself from prosecution. In any event, he has fiercely contested the claims that were made against him. This bit about, he cannot start work because the letter that appointed him says consultation with the Council of State is pending. You see, the operative word is consultation. It's not approval. He does not need the approval of the Council of State. It simply means that the President needs to tell the Council of State, I want to appoint this man. What do you think? Whether they agree or not cannot stop the President if he is convinced that he is the right person.
We're taking into Parliament now, where the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, has urged members of the legislature to eschew ego and indiscipline in their dealings. He was speaking during a prayer meeting along with the clergy and members of Parliament. Judith Brown joins us with a bit more. Judith, talk to us as to what more the Speaker has been saying at this particular engagement.
Okay, so Marina, if you can hear me, basically this was a meeting between the clergy as well as members of Parliament and the Speaker himself. And this was basically a prayer meeting where they had joined or gathered to worship God and share some the word of God as well, and some words of encouragement to each other. And earlier, before the Speaker spoke, we saw Archbishop Duncan Williams, who gave a word of exhortation, and basically he was urging all political parties and members of Parliament to come together and bring their manifestos together such that they can have a national dialogue where they would bring all the ideas and create a national plan that every political party that comes into power would go by, basically. And so this was the recommendation or the suggestion that he was making on the floor. And later on, they had some prayers, some words of exhortation from other members of the clergy, and then the Speaker himself gave also quite an interesting word to members of Parliament. And as you said earlier, he was speaking about the fact that the honourable members, that the MPs, should eschew ego and indiscipline and ensure that they also go, stop the issue of superiority complex. And so maybe you could liken that to some of the issues that have happened in Parliament over the past few days and weeks. He's also telling them to climb down from their high horses and come to the level of their constituents. Also during his speech, he made some comments, and he says that some of the things he does is a clear manifestation of the fact that he is ready to offer his life for Ghana. And however, the good book says, spare the rod, spoil the child. And so he is not ready to spare the rod nor spoil the child. Well, you could also liken it to the issue that happened in the chaos committee, among the appointments committee, which has led to the chaos committee, where he later on suspended some of the members of parliament, including Russell Nelson, Dafiamepo, and then the chief whip of the minority as well, Frank Anodomfre, and some other members of parliament. We saw that happen earlier. Probably you can liken this statement to that, the fact that he does not want to spare the rod nor spoil the child, despite the fact that he is interested in laying his life down for the country. And so these are some of the statements that were made at this prayer meeting. Right now it's ended, and the parliament sitting has started proper. So we are yet to really hear what would be the outcome of parliamentary business today, Ona.
Right then, and it's important to mention that the House has officially begun sitting, because there's expectation, amongst many other things, that the Speaker will be making some comment on the memo written to him by the minority over that 7-member ad hoc committee and the work that's been done. What's the sense of Parliament, even as sitting has begun as at now, with regards the comments the Speaker has been making at this breakfast meeting, seeking to suggest that he will seek to punish persons who are found to have played any role in the destruction we saw on the night of the 30th?
Well, for now, we can't see the the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Bernard Ahiafo. He's the one sharing meetings for now. The Speaker himself, Afam Babing, he is in a meeting with clergymen, and so we are yet to see really if he's going to make a statement or respond to that letter that is written by the minority on the fact that they have recused themselves from that chaos committee and the proceedings as well. And so for now, it's just normal business that is happening. They're yet to really, go into the business proper. Earlier on the floor, they were raising issues once again of quorum, but it seems that was dismissed. And so we're yet to see really what will be the proceedings in the House today.
Right then, Judith, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague, Judith Brown, from Parliament for us. Now, government says he has put in place alternatives to keep the health system running and also avert any emergency situation in the interim as the U.S. aid shuts down in the country, with the U.S. aid being Ghana's largest bilateral development donor, especially in the health sector. The devastating effect of its pullout globally has been of concern to many. But Health Minister Kwabena Mintah-Kando, during an interview exclusively with TV3 on his first day at work, has allayed all fears, assuring the general public that there is no need for panic.
Yes, they are very sensitive in the healthcare delivery of this country, and we hope that in the nearest future they will rescind their decision to come back and assist us. But as a country, irrespective of the fact that they come back or not, we must continue to exist, as a sovereign nation. We're a sovereign nation, and so we have put alternatives in place such that we will not run into emergency situations. So the activities they are assisting us to run, we have tried to put alternative measures in place to continue to run those activities. So there's no cause of alarm. Of course, they are very essential. Of course, we need them. But as we speak, I don't think we should panic. We have solid plans in place to contain all these shocks for the meantime. So we'll begin to think about the medium to long-term plan so that we will not be adversely affected by the withdrawal of their aids.
That's Kwabena Mintah-Kando speaking there in that exclusive interview with us, TV3, and it will take us on to our very second break here on News Central. We'll return with a bit more stories. Please sustain.
This Valentine's Day, immense Movenpick Ambassador Hotel in Accra.
Now, a former member of the Council of State and senior lawyer Samuel Kujetu has defended the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Kufu-Dampare. He says the IGP has done nothing wrong for him to be removed. He spoke in an exclusive interview with my colleague Beatrice Edru on the back of calls for the IGP to be removed from office.
I don't even understand why they're drafting at. Because if there has been any, I have watched this country since independence. If there has been any person who is level-headed and strict to do the right thing, it is the current IGP, Dr. Dampare. I think that people just think that when there's a change of government, there must also be a change of everything. We cannot have continuity in a country like that. It makes no sense.
But you know, even ahead of that, there were people agitating against him, wanting him to be removed, even ahead of the election.
No, because you are forgetting something. When you know the nuances, you find out that there are people even within with his own outfit,
sure,
who are lobbying for that position. And that's why they agitate the politicians to go and making those. What allegation have they brought against him that he has done wrong? Who shot them?
So, for instance, the media has complained about he destroying communication system within the media. Now everything has to be he speaking or he organizing a press conference. Police officers in the region and districts can't speak anymore.
Police officers and this is speaking. What are they speaking on?
On issues within their parameters.
Yeah, but you're forgetting something. Where do you have PRs in institutions? It is to prevent distortions. Where this person says this, another person says that, then you are not even sure which one is the right one.
But in the US, when incidents happen, you have county representatives speaking to the media.
Because the system is so structured. Look, the mayor is an elected officer, answerable to the people in his area. So everything that happens in the area, the mayor automatically is confronted. Within that, you have a governor. He's an elected official. So something happened in the state. Everybody looks to the governor, not to the president, but they look to the governor. The thing is structured that way. We have no structured ours. This is what I'm complaining about.
So the call to remove the IGP is much ado about nothing.
Exactly. I'm sure it's saying that it does not make any interest because we think that because there's a change of government, everybody else must be thrown out.
Now, pedestrians and other road users whose activities pose threats to road users could face prosecution and surcharges. Director General of the Ghana Road Safety Authority, Abraham Amaliba, insists his leadership will not countenance any defiance of road traffic infractions.
According to the National Road Safety Authority, 1,817 lives were lost through road carnages between January and September last year. To avoid further carnage in the capital this year, the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Abraham Amaliba, and his team toured some major high streets where construction of some pedestrian footbridges were ongoing. The team, accompanied by the police, first visited Tetegu Junction. Here, work on the construction of a metallic footbridge was in earnest. Engineers say the project is expected to be completed in March. However, the stretch has no road markings and signages, presenting a great deal of concern to road users. Abraham Amaliba later engaged the Okada Riders Association in Tetegu on the need to uphold high standards. He reaffirmed government plans to regularize their operations.
All that we are saying is that when we finally legalize your activities, which is an economic activity, you must also play in accordance with the rules and laws of the country.
We are happy about the legalization, and before the legalization will come on, it will depend on us, the way we conduct ourselves. That will make the people know the Okada riders, the way they are behaving, they deserve for them to their business to legalize for them.
The team's next stop was at La Paz, where another pedestrian footbridge was being constructed. Most pedestrians in the vicinity cross the George Walker Bush Highway at wrong places, often exposing them to vehicular knockdowns. The team ended the tour at the Kanda National Mosque Enclave, where the construction of another footbridge to ease human traffic, especially on Fridays, is yet to be completed after commencement in March 2023. Abraham Amaliba insists that road users whose activities on the road could pose danger to other road users will not be spared under the road traffic regulations.
Pedestrian indiscipline is also a cause of accidents. And so, with my background as a lawyer and looking at the law that established the authority, we have the power to enforce the strict use of the road. And we have the power to surcharge. I think that for a long time, this has not been activated. And so we find that people go away with offenses. So I can assure you that we will engage in education, we will engage in enforcement, we will engage in compliance, and we will ensure that the pedestrian bridges are used.
Currently, there are 14 pedestrian footbridges in Ghana, of which 6 are in the Greater Accra region. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, away from that, Galamsey, the illicit destruction of the country's forest reserves, an attack on journalists within the mining space has seen Ghana's corruption fight hit yet another snag following a decline in the latest corruption perception index. The country has dropped by 1 score, moving from 43 in 2023 to 42 in 2024. The drop also has seen Ghana move to 80 out of 180 countries surveyed and further dropping to 11th on the African continent. And we know that Ghana since 2015 has been on a downward trajectory in its corruption fight. Let's look at that report closely by Transparency International, the Corruption Perception Index. And so this is what we scored, 42 out of 100, and now we're ranking 80th out of 180 countries. On the African continent, we're ranking 11th amongst 49 sub-Saharan African countries. But this is what it's looked like since 2022 and as far back as 2015, where we scored around 47 out of 100. But since 2022, we scored 43. We maintained the 43 score in 2023. And then in 2024 as well, we've seen that 1 point drop, seeing us drop from 43 to 42. There are a number of reasons that have been provided by the Transparency International for our decline, and amongst many other things, policy, legal, and administrative reforms that are required for review and further strengthening. They've mentioned corruption remaining a significant challenge, particularly in the allocation of mining licenses. They've mentioned the abuse of power and discretion, threatening integrity of natural resources such as forests and water bodies. And they've made recommendations with regards to what we can do to help improve corruption perception and fight graft as a country. Amongst many other things, enhance Parliament's oversight responsibility and empowering the Public Accounts Committee in their work. Then there's the need for the establishment of specialized anti-corruption courts. They are asking for merit-based appointment into civil and public services, protect whistleblowers and journalists in the line of their duty, and then enact the conduct of public officers and internal agency bills. This, amongst a number of recommendations they believe will best serve the interests of the country in helping to fight corruption. That's our bulletin for you this afternoon. And that's really how we'll bring it all to a close for you this afternoon. As always, a lot more news if you log on to 3news.com. I am Mawena Egbeta. Up next is the afternoon show with Anita and Godwin.